오늘 게스트는 여성가족부 장관 조윤선 장관님. 우리 제작진 중에도 장관님 팬이 좀 많죠?
워낙 예쁘시니까.
게다가 일도 잘하고 똑똑하고.
그러면은 오늘은 어느 때보다 활기 넘치는 제작회의가 되겠네요. 기대할게요.
그 예전에 여성부에서 여성가족부로 명칭이 바뀌었었잖아요. 그때 참 논란이 많았었는데.
맞아요. 남성 역차별이다 이런 얘기 좀 있었던 것 같아요.
그게 아마 여성부에서 진화했기 때문에 여성이라는 단어가 계속 들어가서 그런데 주요 업무를 보면 사실 여성이 아니라 가족 전반의 문제를 많이 다루는 곳이더라고요.
예전에 실제로 이제 여성부일 때는 양성평등에 대한 일을 주로 봤다면 이제 여성가족부가 됐으니까 뭐 청소년 문제라든지 성폭력이라든지 가정 전반에 대한 이야기를 다루는 것 같아요.
그런데 조윤선 장관님이 첫 여성 대통령의 첫 여성가족부 수장으로 되어가지고 화제가 되었잖아요. 맞아. 그리고 보수정당 최초의 여성 대변인이기도 했어.
아 그리고 그 변호사실 때 쓰신 미술관에서 오페라를 만나다 그 책이 있었잖아요. 그거 되게 재밌게 읽었었는데.
오, 진짜?
네. 저 오페라 팬이거든요.
얼굴이 빨개지는데.
그래요. 근데 조 장관님은 정말 진정한 오페라 팬으로 유명하시고 또 문학적인 워낙 교회가 깊은 걸로 유명하시더라고요.
그래서 그런지 몰라도 요즘 이제 여성가족부 정책에 문화 콘텐츠를 접목시켜서 하는 게 되게 많아요.
이번에 녹화 준비하면서 여성가족부에서 동영상 보내줬는데 다들 보셨죠?
네.
재밌던데?
네.
맞았어.
들켰어요.
빨간 모자라고 극장용으로 제작한 성폭력 추방 캠페인입니다.
저는 성폭력 추방 캠페인이라고 해서 되게 셀 줄 알았는데 애니메이션을 해서 재밌던데요?
근데 진짜 조윤선 장관이야말로 워킹맘의 전형적인 모델 아닌가요? 모든 게 정말 완벽한 이런 여자들 보면 일상생활에 진짜 어떻게 되는지 좀 늘 그게 궁금하더라고요.
근데 제가 예전 인터뷰 기사를 봤는데 30대에 아이 키우면서 일을까지 하는 게 너무 힘들어서 다음 생에 다시 태어나면 곤충이라도 좋으니 남성으로 태어나고 싶다고 그러셨더라고요.
근데 저 궁금한 게 있는데 진짜 힘드세요 여성으로?
남자는 어때요? 남자로 사는 게 뭐 되게 편해요?
아니 그러니까 정말 이 정도로 곤충이라도 좋으니 남자로 태어나고 싶다 이 정도로 이렇게 여성으로서 겪는 그런 불평등한 일들이 많이 있나요?
직접 한번 여쭤봐야 될 것 같아요. 근데 정말 조윤선 장관처럼 겉으로 완벽해 보이는 사람일수록 속으로는 고충이 많은 법인 것 같아요.
근데 사실 남녀 평등이나 뭐 이런 문제여서가 아니라 일반적으로 가정은 엄마, 아빠, 자녀 이렇게 있는데 똑같이 일을 하면서도 남편들은 직장 나와서 우리 뭐 애는 어떻게 하고 있을까 이런 걱정 같은 거 막 크게 많이 하진 않잖아요. 근데 여자들은 남자들보다 좀 더 이렇게 배로 신경을 써야 한다는 게 가정에 이런 것들 때문에 아마 여성가족부에서 뭐 이런 얘기들을 많이 하는 것 같아요.
맞아요. 일가정 양립정책 이런 게 잘 돼서 여성이 일이랑 가정 둘 다 잘하면 결국 남편한테도 좋은 거 아닌가요?
그 시부모면서도 얼마나 좋은 건데요. 애들도 그렇고 용돈 더 생기잖아요.
여성가족부 얘기하니까 남자들이 끼어들 자리가 없는 것 같아요. 근데 얘기를 들어보니까 진짜 필요한 것 같아요 여성가족부.
정말 이야기거리가 많은 것 같은데 키워드 한번 정리해 볼게요. 자, 어느 분이 첫 번째 주실래요?
저는 그 여성가족부에 대해서 좀 알고 싶거든요. 그 여성가족부가 어떤 면에서 또 왜 필요한 건지 그 업무 범위가 좀 궁금하거든요.
그리고요?
저는 그 워킹맘의 롤 모델이시잖아요.
네.
네, 장관님의 이야기가 궁금해요.
그쵸, 개인적인 이야기. 하나 더 해야 되겠죠?
저는 성폭력 그 추방 캠페인 홍보 영상 빨간 모자에 대해서 더 듣고 싶어요.
빨간 모자. 재미있는 인터뷰가 될 것 같아요. 그쵸? 이 정도면 될 것 같아요. Happy individuals create a happy society, and in today's age, national policies and social care are also important for individuals' happiness. Well, in Korea, the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family is working hard day and night to promote the happiness of the nation. Here to talk about its work and more is Minister Cho Yoon-sun. Minister Cho, thank you so much for taking time out of, I know, a very busy schedule to be with us.
My pleasure.
So, Minister, it's been about 9 months, I think, since you've taken office as the head of the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. I know it's difficult, but can you sum up how it's been the past 9 or 10 months?
Oh, I can't believe it's already 9 months. I think I was appointed like 1 week ago. Actually, after on the very day I was appointed as the Minister for Gender Equality and Family, the President, Madam Park, gave me a tremendous homework, which is to bring a visible outcome regarding the entire life cycle of women from marriage, childbirth, child caring, and education. For the entire life, Minister of Gender Equality, you should bring me with visible outcome. So that is a great homework, and I and my colleagues, more than 240 colleagues, are working very hard, as you just said, day and night, to create the happiness of women, happiness of family, and happiness of Korean people.
And how would you rate your work so far?
Actually, I'm working very hard, and whenever I have to do something, I try to do it while I'm enjoying it. So I try my best to align what I have to do with what I enjoy. So in the way I enjoy it. So so far, I don't think I get much stress doing all those homework.
Right. Well, I'm sure it's a matter that's very close to your heart as well. But for some of our viewers, and actually maybe some of our public as well, even Korea, who are not quite sure what the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family actually does, can you also explain some of your work?
Yeah, I can understand that, because before I was appointed as Minister of our ministry, I didn't have any accurate information about what the ministry is doing. Actually, we are covering the three categories. One is closing the gender gap, which means the women policy. And the second is a youth policy, so to enhance the youth activity out of school and to help those vulnerable students who are runaways from their houses and who stopped their school. And third is the family policy. The family policy is to help those families to be a healthy one when we have to support those families of unmarried single parent and grandparent and grandchildren family and the families of multicultural background. So that is the basic three categories of our ministry's tasks.
And is the priority evenly divided among the three as well, or does it kind of shift according to the times?
If I say one of the three categories is the most important one, that the other two, the head of the two departments will cry. So I think I have to allocate my passion and my energy evenly to those three categories. And I think there is no single less important works.
Right, yeah. I remember in one interview that you gave earlier, you said that Korea has 1 female ministry and 16 male ministries. This is a very sort of interesting quote. Would you care to explain what that means?
Actually, that was not my comment from the beginning. Actually, when I talked with one of my senior working at the other ministry, he told me that, Yoon-sun, don't be so depressed because in Korea we have 1 ministry for women and the 16 ministries for men. That means how it will be hard for, as a Minister for Gender Equality, to work with the other 16 ministers who has a very little consciousness about gender issues. So that in order to solve those problems, we have to adopt several systematic structure systematic legislation and systematic methods, which is, for example, gender-sensitive budget. That means to ask the ministries to review in advance what kind of impact will be made by their policies when they plan their national budget. So by doing that, we can kind of impose those ministers to be conscious about what they are doing in terms of those gender matters. So that is one of the very outstanding methods. I call it a rail track, railroad.
Laying the rails, kind of.
Yes, that helps those trains can follow those tracks. So, and actually, when I attend the cabinet meeting and economic ministries meeting, I have to persuade other ministers that they have to put more effort on closing those gender gaps when they are working their own tasks.
Are they quite aware of the problem, and are they willing to cooperate with your efforts?
They made a great progress comparing with the beginning, very beginning. I repeated the same statement over and over again, and then suddenly nowadays I can find that some of the ministers just voluntarily bring up any ideas or suggestions or plans that tries to close the gender gap, and that is very, very aware of their impact on the women's employment and women's empowerment and women's payment, for example.
So let me ask maybe quite a sensitive issue. You mentioned that, yes, in whatever way it should be interpreted, it is one female ministry and 116 male ministries. Did you ever come up against any difficulties working in such an environment? I mean, the government itself is very male-oriented. There are not many female ministers, and so it is still a male-oriented environment. So did you have to come up against sort of gender-based problems as well?
Yes. Not only the ministers, but also the very high-ranking officers who are the decision makers in each ministry. We have very few female on the very top management. So it is very hard for them to think about in women's shoes. It is not because they are inferior, or it is not because they are not smart. It is not because they are not good. It is very, very natural. It's very hard to think in women's shoes while they are men. So in order to do the very balanced decision, I think the best way is to secure enough volume, enough number of decision makers in the very high-ranking positions. Before we can achieve that, I think the best way is to ask precisely whether did you think about this impact, whether did you think about this aspect before they actually implement what they are planning.
And I imagine also, you mentioned that the higher levels, there are not many women, but I imagine it's a different story for the lower level. Is that right? Are there more women?
Right. Yes, right. Including those public sectors and private sectors. I think we have a lot of very high, excellent names in their 20s in various fields of society. For example, in Korea, the women in their 20s, they have a higher rate of employment rate after the college graduation. And the women, the rate of college enrollment is higher than men. However, suddenly, when they get into 30s, their employment rate drops sharply, and the gap is more than 35%. And it never, the women cannot never recover the employment rate while they go through those 40s and 50s. And for those people who did not graduate the college, then they have another chance to get job again in their 40s and 50s. But for those who graduate from the college, and it is harder for them to find a new job, the re-entry is harder for them in their 40s, 50s.
Well, precisely because of those facts that you mentioned, there are more younger women who are entering college, getting jobs, also passing national examinations, I think.
Right.
There are quite a few people who are saying, I mean, do we need these policies that are gender specific or that support women's advancement? Yes, there will be a gap maybe in their 30s, but do we really need it? What do you
I heard a lot of those statements comments from the very senior male CEOs or managers. And then whenever I hear that, I told them that, look, those numbers of those glass ceiling index and those very few little numbers that represents the higher managing positions, managers' positions. That means even though the spring has come on the foot of the mountain top is covered with ice cap. So I think that is the current status, and we have to try our best to break the glass ceiling and to melt those ice cap on the top of the mountain.
What do you think is the biggest problem? Is it the problem of, I think I've heard it's called the diaper wall. They've mentioned the glass ceiling is kind of cracking now, but they say now it's the diaper wall. It's once women start families, then that's when they start dropping off out of their jobs or their employment. Is that the problem?
Yeah. The career disruption is the most the one of the major problem. So we have 4 dimensions. Our policy, the first one is to help those women get a fair chance for the entry level. And once they entered any organization, then we have to help them to be retained at the organization while they raise kids and educating their kids. And thirdly, is once for any reason, once their career, once they has to quit their job, and the government has to help them to restart their career. And the last dimension is in any organization, we have to help those female employees to be promoted properly and fairly to the higher level.
Right.
Actually, the reason why it is hard to break the glass ceiling is that if the women have 1 or 2 or more children, they have to consider whether to go on or whether to quit their job.
Right.
And oftentimes it is very hard for them to raise kids and keep their job at the same time. So most of them should quit their job at a certain point. So we have to help them not to quit their job while they have some difficulties. In order to do that, it is we say it as a work-life balance policy and family-friendly management policy. In order to help these policies work, we provide a lot of incentives and a lot of systems for those companies and employees. For example, we encourage the companies to create their child care center at the workplace, so that for those working mothers can take care of their kids close to them. And secondly, to provide the working mothers a maternity leave until the age 8 of the children. And we are considering to lengthen the period because the working mothers think that it is very critical for them to leave for the first year at the elementary school or the first year at the middle school or first year at the high school. So we have to give them more options to when to take their maternity leave. And at the same time, we are trying our best in discussing with the other ministries, Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Labor, to provide a longer period of leave for the fathers.
Paternity leave.
Paternity leave. and at the same time provide the employees to have a flexible working hours so that they can shift their working hours in line with their child caring and their 어린이집, the working hours of the 어린이집. And at the same time provide the company incentive which provide their employees a remote working system, working at home, for example. So that kind of very various policies can give the working mothers more options and help them to keep their career while they have to raise their kids. And at the same time, we have to change the mindset of the whole society.
Of course.
Employers.
It's not just good for the women involved and just the mothers involved, is it really? It's greater for the husbands, but also for the companies as well, right?
Yes, right. So we have a program to provide a certification to a company who is very diligently working on the family-friendly management system. So I met one of the CEO who has a great confidence in family-friendly management. So I asked the CEO, what is the difference before and after the certification in number? And he answered, before their company was certified, their competition rate for the entry-level employees were only 100 to 1. However, after they get certified by our ministry as a family-friendly company, their competition rate was raised up to 1,000 to 1.
10 times greater.
And then the CEO was so surprised to see the result, and he asked the applicant, why did you apply for our company? And the applicant answered, sir, I don't know much about this certification, what it means exactly. However, the family-friendly company implies that this company is not caring only about the company itself, but also the caring about their employees. So it helps a lot to the goodwill of the company. And at the same time, the CEO believes in that the family-friendly management is a very critical factor for the sustainable growth of the company. And then he told me that it is a great commitment of a company to be a family-friendly company. Therefore, that fact should be disclosed and known to the investors, because investors should be able to invest on a proper company. Company have a strong commitment for the future growth.
That's great news, because some, I think even college students, even once, I think a middle school student, a girl, remember said she's not thinking about getting married because she wants to put her career first.
Really?
She wants to climb up the corporate ladder. She wants to become someone. And she says in order to do that, she's seen lots of women before her give up their careers after getting married or having babies. So she said, I don't want to get married. And I think that's quite sad.
That's so sad. But I'd like to tell them that when I was raising my kids, there were very little social infrastructure. So there was no childcare centers like these days. However, the government has been building those infrastructures as years go by. So when the middle school student get married and has to raise their kids, I think the social infrastructure will be much better than today.
So have hope, yes.
But actually, I'm so happy to see that all of the international organizations, including OECD and IMF and Asian Development Bank and World Bank, make a one voice that if a country has a closer gap in both genders in terms of payment and social position and economic empowerment, then it helps a lot to the growth of the improvement of the economy and the growth of the GDP of the country. So I'm so happy to see all those support from the outside international organizations, and that is, they are helping me a lot.
Of course, to persuade all these corporations, you have hard facts and figures.
This is a
Right.
material proof that you have to listen to them,
Right.
to the other 16 ministries for
Yeah.
men in
Yeah.
Korea.
That's right. I mean, it's something that we kind of grew up with as well, knowing, maybe not in facts and figures, but at home, if our mothers were unhappy, then the entire family was unhappy. If our mother was in a good mood, then everyone was in a good mood. So,
Right,
yeah,
right,
that's
yeah,
right.
right.
Well, let's switch tracks here, keeping with the railroad metaphor, to something a little bit more serious and a little bit different now. Back in October, you delivered a speech at the UN General Assembly, third committee meeting, and you addressed the Japanese sexual slaves issue, euphemistically called, of course, the comfort woman. And you became the first ministerial level official from Korea to make such a speech. I'm curious about what prompted you to do this, and also what was the reaction?
Actually, this August, last August, was the 20th anniversary of the Kono statement.
Okay.
However, recently, the politicians of Japan
Yes.
made a very denial of statement of their past misdemeanor, not even up to the level of the Kono statement 20 years ago. And the last August, I saw that 2 of the comfort women victim passed away,
Right.
and I attended one of the funeral, and heard from the descendant that she refused to eat or drink when she saw the TV report of the Japanese politicians, the statement of their past misconduct. And then I found that we don't have much time left, and the ladies are passing away one by one. And one day we might have no ladies left. And then that means there is no witness, no one to testify what actually happened before. And at the same time, the history education was very poor, and then the Japanese government doesn't educate their descendants regarding their past misbehavior. And further, the whole international community raises a very high voice against the current sexual violence in the regions of conflict. However, as I emphasized in my speech, if we do not properly settle, properly resolve the past misconduct, then the voice of international community against those sexual violence may lose its power. So I told in my speech then, an apology is not something to blame somebody for its past misconduct. An apology is a very strong and courageous commitment not to repeat the same mistake. So I ask the responsible government, to apologize and do the proper settlement, the measures that is acceptable to those surviving ladies.
Well, we recently met Minister Cho Yoon-sun at the Comfort Women exhibition, which was held under the theme of embracing peace and overcoming memories. Last November, a special exhibition of Comfort Women was held at the National Women's History Exhibition Hall. It garnered great interest from the Korean public.
오늘은 무엇보다도 일본군 위안부 할머니들의 아픈 기억을 서로가 공유함으로 인해서 힐링할 수 있고, 그렇게 해서 할머니들이 기본적으로 원하는 것은 평화 희망 메시지예요. 그래서 평화 희망 메시지를 전달하는 그런 행사라고 생각하시면 되겠습니다.
Minister Cho, who delivered a speech addressing the comfort women issue at the UN General Assembly's third committee meeting in October, participated in this event to stress the importance of the comfort women issue. Surviving victims also participated to make the event more meaningful.
The major purpose of our exhibition today is to expand the awareness of the historic facts. This comfort women victim issue is not a matter of past. It is a very urgent matter, which is the core issue that we are facing today. It is a real human rights issue, and this is something that everybody in this world should pay attention and pursue to get rid of those human rights violations.
The exhibition shows paintings and drawings by surviving victims, photos and historical evidence that prove the Japanese government's systematic recruitment and management of comfort women.
이런 전시가 이제 페이스북 통해서나 이런 데 SNS를 통해서 많이 홍보가 된다면 저 같은 학생들이 늘어나서 이제 교과서에도 실리고 또 동아리도 생기고 그래서 좀 활발한 활동들이 일어났으면 좋겠어요.
할머니들이 직접 오셔서 이렇게 좋은 말씀도 해주시고 또 저희한테 이렇게 바라는 점도 말씀해주시고 또 겪었던 일들을 간략하게나마 말씀해주셔서 정말 뜻깊은 날이었던 것 같습니다.
There are now only 51 surviving victims, and their average age is 88. Sharing their pain and the truth is the most important thing. I think history really comes alive in the details of personal stories. And as you said, the women who were comfort women during the World War II are decreasing in number quite rapidly now. And you must have met quite a few of them. Could you maybe share one or two of their personal stories?
When I found that the two ladies passed away, I decided to meet them in person with every one of them, the 51 ladies in Korea. And so far I have met 25 of them, and some of them are living in an institution. Some of them, who are in a good health condition, they are living in their own home, and some are in the nursery care centers. And it varies a lot. Days ago, I met 3 ladies living in Seoul area. And the first lady was 96 years old, and she was at the nursery care center. And then I found that she was so weak and so fragile, and she didn't react much about my questions and anything. And it seems like, am I talking to a living person or not? So it's so heartbreaking. And the second and third lady who are in a better health condition, and I talk a lot with them. However, 2 of them did not want to disclose the past experience. So their descendant, the stepsons, asked me not to talk clearly about the matter. So we had just a very warm and nice chat. And at the end, I tell them that we will do our best to restore your dignity, and then we will try our best. And then they hold my hand very tight and told me, please do your best. So
it's unfortunate that sexual violence against women just seems to be an issue that we never can get rid of. And moving on from the comfort women, of course, sexual violence against minors was also quite an issue in Korea. But the promotional video that you made, the ministry made, Little Red Riding Hood, I hear that that's been receiving a very good response.
Oh, yes, right. Actually, the Lotte Cinema, the theater, gave us a chance that they will run it through the whole November as a campaign together with our ministry. And actually, when I was appointed as minister, I found that this notice system is very, very effective and help the people assured. Then, however, it is a very hard one. And how can we help the people understand about this the system? And then I asked our colleagues that please prepare any media, any contents using comics or animation or fairy stories or anything that can be a campaign to make this system known. And then there are more than 40 applicants, and out of 40, one working mother applied with a red hunt hood. The story, and that is a really cute one. And I asked the animation company to make an animation out of it, and that is a very highly received by the people. It's very cute.
Yes, it's a very serious and dark issue, but you use quite a cute sort of medium to make it more familiar or more easily accepted by the public, I guess.
Yeah, right. I believe that the cultural medium is like a flying carpet, that if I put any content, any message that I want to deliver to the people, if I put that message on the carpet, then the carpet kind of flies smoothly and deliver those messages to the individual, the people. So I think it is a very nice way to make this known to the public.
Right. Well, I'm sure our viewers are very curious about the promotional campaign as well. So before we go on, let's take a look at the promotional video, Little Red Riding Hood.
우리 이웃에 성범죄자가 있다고? 인터넷으로 확인을 해봤어요.
이 늑대를 조심해야 돼.
네. 다음 날 빨간 모자는 할머니 댁으로 가던 중 늑대를 만났어요.
어디 가니? 내가 데려다 줄까?
그 늑대다. 아니요, 혼자 갈 수 있어요. 늑대가 나타났어요.
늑대에게서 벗어난 빨간 모자는 도움을 요청해서 안전할 수 있었어요. 미리 알면 지킬 수 있습니다. 여성가족부.
If you don't mind my asking, who was the intended audience of this video? Because it's a cartoon, you have a very cute girl, and the music is quite upbeat as well. It almost seems like it's geared for children. Was it geared towards children? Who was the audience?
I think the children, I think it is targeted for those mothers, because when we are notified with Ministry of Justice about the criminal, and then we dispatch about more than 3.3 million mail every year. That means 3.3 million houses are receiving those messages.
Not email, just real traditional mail.
Real traditional mail, as you can see in the campaign animation. And then that will be opened by the mothers, and the mothers can share the contents with their children, and then the information shows the actual photo of the criminal and the other basic information about what he did as a sexual violence. So I think that the major target is the mothers who educate their children about those facts and educate the children to be aware and be careful about those risks.
However unsavory, it's important that the mothers share the picture, that make sure that their children get a good look at the offender, right?
Oh, yes, right. And then the best way is not to let the little children go by themselves.
Sure, of course. Are there any other contents or cultural contents projects that you're using the magic carpet to promote other policies of the ministry?
The one thing, we have another thing, using the three little bears.
Like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, kind of?
That is, actually, we asked the members of the police who are in charge of those sexual violence and domestic violence matters to come up with any educational or promotional contents regarding the domestic violence and sexual violence. And this time also we have a lot of applications, and then out of those many applications we selected best products, and one of them is using the three little bears regarding how what is the actual aspect of the domestic violence and what will happen afterwards, and why we have to stop domestic violence. And that has a very clear and very fun and very amusing contents.
Because the song The Three Little Bears is all about a very kind of happy family. You've got the Papa Bear, the Mama Bear, and the Baby Bear, and they're all one happy family. But you use it as a campaign against family and domestic violence.
Yes, it's a very pleasant parody, and very educational and informative.
Are there not any criticism that maybe it's making light of a serious subject?
Some people may think, may raise questions about whether it is effective or not. I actually, when I show this clip to the audience during my lecture one day, and one of the audience raised hands and told me that I don't think it will be effective. And then and he asked me, do you think that the criminal kind of conducting the domestic violence can stop while he sees this promotional cute video? So I told him that this is not for those very serious criminal. I don't expect that this video clip can stop those serious violation. However, this is a very the beginning stage of our promotion, and we'd like to show to the public that domestic violence is a crime. And domestic violence is not something private that should be kept inside a house. We as a member of community and we as a member of neighborhood, we have to consider the domestic violence in other houses serious and serious crime. So by showing this video clipping, I think we can alert the society, and we have to prepare the next level campaign to actually help those potential criminals or the criminals stop their misdemeanor.
It's almost even more sinister because you use a very familiar and cute song to portray or to shed light on such a serious project. Well, anyways, I'm talking with Minister Cho Yoon-sun of the Ministry for Gender Equality and Family. We'll be right back after this.
중요한 거는 그런 것 같아요. 모든 사람이 나는 젠더 갭을 줄이기 위해서 노력할 거야 라는 인식을 갖고 있지 않게 일을 해도 이렇게 일을 하는 과정에서 결과가 젠더 갭이 줄어들 수 있도록 레일을 잘 깔아야 돼요. 그런 시스템이 이제 여러 가지 법률의 규정, 그다음에 쿼타.
Minister, we talked a little bit before about how difficult it was for you when you were trying to raise your two children when you were younger, and there was even less support for working moms. Tell me, how did you do it? Did you have to take some time off, or did you manage to get help from someone?
Actually, when I raised my kids in my 30s, we had I think almost no childcare centers unless the child is like 5-6 years old. Actually, I had to have a sleep-in nanny privately dispatched by a private company. I had a very good nanny, but one day she has to quit the job because she has their own family matters. So that is quite an emergency.
Yes.
So I ask for the numbers of the dispatching companies from my friends and my colleagues, and I call them like 10 or 20 of them and ask them to take care of my children. And then when I get a call back from the companies, I arrange a job interview with those applicants. And then when I find a very nice and kind of warm-hearted kind of apparently warm-hearted lady, I just ask them, why don't you come to my house and then from the next day, I have to ask her to take care of my children, who I did not know before, and then I have to come to the office. After several days, when my mother happened to visit my house with some foods,
Unannounced visit.
And then if my mother found that my kids are not in a very, very good condition, then she is so worried about the situation, and she told me that story, and I have to tell my nanny that I think
it's not working out.
Yeah, we are not. I think I will pay you one additional month, and while you are seeking for your new job, and then I have to kind of I have to call the dispatching companies again. So once I changed the nanny like 5-6 times during 1 month. And while doing this, I was one day so exhausted, and my husband was very willing to help me. But actually, at that time, I found that there are so few things that the husband can help the wives regarding this matter. And I felt I was so lonely and so exhausted. And one day I told to myself that I have to be born again in my next life. I don't mind being born as an insect, but I will definitely be born as a male. Then I think when I tell this story to the people in any occasion, like in front of the Korean audience or in the international seminar or forum, everybody agrees with me. Every ladies who had an experience of raising kids and working at the same time, they have the similar experience. I bet.
But you're regarded as not only a super mom, but I think an uber super mom. I mean, you raised 2 beautiful kids, and I know you had difficulties, but everyone might think that you have led the perfect or the ideal life, and you have achieved everything that you could or want to as a woman, and yet you would want to be born again as a man? What?
No, not these times. When I was young, when I was raising kids when they are like 3-4 years old, but I have never thought about the same thing afterwards. Actually, I really am grateful about being a mother and a working mother. And actually, I think there is no perfect life. No one lives a perfect life. And apparently, if it seems perfect from the distance, I think every life has a kind of an agony and the tears and everything when you have a closer look. And actually, I think being a working mother is like being a pendulum. So if I focus more about children, then my colleagues at workplace complain. And I have to pay more attention to the work, and my kids will cry. So always go back and forth.
That's right.
In the middle of something. And then if I try to do the 100% out for everything, I think that will hurt my health, and I will get too much stress. So I think get like 70 points from everything will be the best recommendation, best advice for those working mothers.
How old are your kids now? Are they
16 and 16 and 19 and a half.
16, 19. So they're nearly basically adults now.
Yes, they are more like friends than daughters.
I'm sure they're very, very proud of you, even if they're not so expressive about it. And they'll become more proud or prouder as they become more mature as well. Well, winding down our interview, I'd like to ask you, what is your sort of ambition or dream for the ministry? And how would you like to be remembered by the public as the first minister of gender equality and ministry of the first female president of Korea?
I think I'd like to be remembered as a minister of a ministry that people think that, wow, we need this ministry. This ministry and this minister helped to improve our living condition and kind of enabled us to live a happier life. And we realized more value about family, and we get support from this ministry. So that is my goal and my hope as a minister. That is a standard for me to be a successful minister.
And we wish you the best of luck in also laying those tracks, which would be so important for future generations. Thank you so much for taking the time to visit us.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And that was our interview with Minister Cho Yoon-sun of the Ministry for Gender Equality and Family. You can watch this interview once again on our homepage, arirangtv.com. Until the next time, bye-bye.